Comrades, remember this from my last video? Well, I'm glad to report that after my glorious call to arms, millions of comic skaters took to the streets, and in a successful campaign we persuaded the capitalist running dogs of Gyamu Super to put it back on the shelves. Victory! This is World Comics Review, and it was that time again, time for the Shitennoji book sale. And I didn't get quite such a big haul this year, but let's go through what I got anyway. So I've got stuff from the UK, USA, Japan, and of course North Korea, as always. Let's start with the UK. We've got one British comic, and it's this, Back to the Front by Peter Ender. Not quite sure when it's from, but it seems to be from either late 1940 or 1941. And it cost £6 bob originally, and at some point it was in a UK bookshop for £1.50. and I paid only, I think, 500 yen for it, which is actually a pretty decent price for its age and condition. So this is a kind of a comedy retelling of the first months of World War II, with a lot of other cartoons stuck in amongst it. Mostly seem to be by Peter Ender himself, but there's a few taken from other publications, such as this one from Punch, which is a long-running comedy magazine. And there's a lot of parodies of aircraft recognition. So there's the Heinkel 111 and the Heinkel 55.5. And these get completely ridiculous later on. So a lot of people were taking refuge in the London Underground during the air raids. Also lots of these cartoons. Could you direct me to the nearest air raid shelter? German with a sausage gun. This is a cartoon reproduced from the London Opinion, some other magazine of the time. Removing signposts and even removing the directions from a weather vane. And here's the aircraft recognition. Pictures getting completely stupid. Like the Boy Scout knots diagrams. So yes, this will be a fun read. I read a bit of it on the day I got it, which is also a day I had work, so I had to read a bit of it before starting classes. Yeah, it's kind of this style of humour of the time that my granny was really good at, but doesn't really exist anymore. Kind of a dry, sarcastic humour. Pretty good. Okay, so that was the one British publication. Let's move on to the Japanese ones, which I put somewhere. Right, here they are. Okay, first one is this. It's a comic from 1936. So this is Koguman Kodosuke, and it's got this weird looking character. And this is from Showa Juichi, or Showa 11, or 1936. And this is the Rokugetsu, or June issue. And if I'm reading this right, it started in May, so this could actually be the second ever issue. I didn't know that at the time, I just bought the one with the coolest cover. The guy had a whole bunch of these for only 3,000 yen each. It's got a nice coloured cover and quite good cardstock. This advert on the inside, and the comic has this black, white and red style throughout, so black and white with black tone, and then solid red overlay and red tone used to create pink. And a lot of British comics back in the day, especially in the 60s and 70s, used this on some inner pages, but this is used on every page. And a pretty good thick paper stock as well. These nice card stock covers. And it's much of a Korosuke Banzai. A lot of Korosuke merchandise, such as I guess these are cardboard or wooden standees. Whatever this girl's got. Korosuke pillow. Korosuke records. So yeah, it was obviously quite a big noise back in its day. A nice full colour back cover too on this cardstock. It's a pretty good package, especially for 1936. You can see the USA had full colour comics at this time, but they were, well, I say full colour, full 4-colour comics, but printed on much cheaper paper. And the UK had some comics like Tiger Tim's Weekly, which had full colour covers, and some of these red acetate interiors on some of the pages, but once again on much cheaper and crappier paper, so this is actually quite a good package for its era. I wonder what it cost. No price on it, and it'd be completely meaningless today anyway without a conversion. So it's a Korosuke. Right, next. Oh yeah, also I did some research, so yeah, Korosuke was created by, was my notes, Yoshimoto Sanpei, who lived from 1900 to 1940, and a very misleading article I found online said it started in 2010, which I think was a bit wrong. So yeah, it actually started in 1936, and this could be issue 2. Right, next one from Japan is this. This is Horoseki, or Jewel, and this is the May issue from 1951, and that's basically all I know about it. Obviously, because it's just called Jewel, searching for that on Google just brings up loads of pictures of jewels. So yeah, I wasn't able to find any other information about this. But from 1951, so still quite a wartime recovery time. This just about see 1951 there. But yeah, I'm guessing this is faded. It wasn't originally printed that badly. Maybe. An advert for Boys' Day, as it was called at the time, but now it's just Children's Day. That's in May. And this is a magazine with various stories. Here's a nighttime picture of Tokyo. Some cartoons, scenes from a movie, I'm guessing, or TV show. Rudimentary comic strips. Lots of written stories with these good illustrations. So we've got some nice toned, or washed and then converted into screen tone picture. It's got like romantic, murder mystery, other such stories aimed at women. A pirate story. There's a pirate. So yeah, it seems to be mostly these written stories with some nice wash or black and white line illustrations. It's got to be suicide maybe, or murder made to look like suicide. Secret agents. Adverts, something to do with time. Mostly straight, little news articles too. Here's one about space exploration as it was going. Is that, what's his name? Vince, what's his name? Don't know, famous old movie star. Yeah, mostly written stories, a few entertainment articles, and bits and pieces. Oh, another comic strip here. Yeah, a lot of these are all silent comic strips in this mostly. Here's a fisherman catches a diver. With some more comics. Saw more comics in this. Some other ones in here somewhere. They're mostly silent, so they could be made in Japan, or they could be reprinted from foreign publications, because oh yeah, here's some more. 1, 2, 3, 4 numbered panels. Nice opening illustration for the main story here. More line illustrations. There's some coupons for something. This is the Jewel Kurabu. Oh, Jewel Club Shin Nani Nani Nani. Don't know what these are. Coupons or something. Could possibly be, there might have been a lot of paper rationing at the time maybe, so maybe they only printed the number that were ordered, so you had to reserve your copies at a newsagent. A lot of British comics were doing that back at this time, because there was still a paper shortage, although it was kind of easing in the UK by the 50s. And so Eagle was able to be launched with its big pages, but that's for another video. Right, next one is, let's keep with the post-war theme. This one, this is another women's magazine. This is the Shufu to Seikatsu. Right, so this is the issue for August 1952, and this is a magazine for housewives. That's Shufu. There's another one called Shufu no Tomo. I got some issues off last time, and a nice fold-out contents page in the style of the times. Adverts for stuff for babies. Fold this up properly. I guess a face cream or something. Nice coloured cover. The Shufu Tousei Katsu, unlike something like the Shufu no Tomo, this was started in the post-war period in 1946 in this A5 format, was later upgraded to a B5 and then A4, and ran until April 1993, so just short of its anniversary. And apparently it was cancelled because it had fulfilled its social mission. Make of that what you will. And from the second ever issue in 1946, it's serialised First Woman by Takeo Kitahara, which is apparently a big noise at the time, or at least big enough to be mentioned on the Wikipedia page today. So we've got some hairstyles, colourised black and white photos of kimono, and a glimpse into the all ModCon's interior design of the time. Advert for whatever this is, opera perfume or whatever. Adverts of face creams, some more pictures of women. This is a kabuki or whatever, theatre, a little kid with dog, swimsuits, interior stuff, I'm guessing makeup boxes. The smallest woman is, look at this car, she's shorter than the car. I guess it's probably a big American car, but still. These pink pages all still some movies. This is from Kismet, I guess a Hollywood production. Got some Japanese movies as well. Oops, whoever this is. Let's get into the actual contents. Got oh yeah, this story has this nice wash, black, white and red, but pink washed illustrations. Sui water no something something romansu, so romance story. Nice black, white, red and grey wash illustrations. Is this set on the Pacific Islands or Hawaii? Maybe Okinawa. Another story. Is this set in Venice, this one? Some scheming guy. Right, into the main pages, just black and white line illustrations. Pretty avant-garde style on this one. Don't think much of these illustrations. So, more comic strips as well. Another silent comic. This is, could this be from the West and just changed to Japanese? It's got a Japanese writing there, but it's only one word, so don't know. The silent comic strips work in any language, of course. I think it was a whole multi-book manga series about a little dinosaur that was completely silent. I remember somebody boasting they'd read it in the original language. Some little girls brushing their hair. Are they twins? I guess so. Actually, one's bigger. Sisters that look the same. Oh, I guess they are twins, actually. Some green pages. Judging by the look of these cartoons, I think this is more comedy style. Stories and jokes. Biasu Kurimu. Yet more face cream. Blah blah blah. A lot of green pages. Right, more stories with illustrations. Partly washed and then converted to screen tone. Something about, Olympics. 52 an Olympics year. Can't remember. Guess it might have been. Right, more stories. Shiguyuri. Hashiguyuri. Okay. This is samurai. Oh no, not a samurai era story. Just a woman wearing a kimono in modern times. Blah blah blah. Inevitable samurai story, of course. This one actually is a samurai story. Samurai era. More silent comic strips. It's like trying to ape Machiko Hasegawa's style, but not as good. What's this? It's a ticket for something. Number 1505. Is that 160 yen it cost? Someone lost their laundry ticket. I found it. Some articles illustrated with photos. Some about flowers. Some comics. Big gag cartoon. This is Asaru no Mon-chan. About a monkey. Mini comic strips. I think, whoops, flower arranging. Right, page of gag cartoons. This artist was active in World War II as well. I've got some wartime publications of this exact styling. So yeah, flower arranging. I've got some like simplified diagrams of the arrangements. Right, murder mystery, I'm guessing, from the knife. Right, let's not spend too long on this one. Some photos. Are they Ainu, maybe? Something fold out. Let's quickly look at this. That's like handwritten letters. Okay. Don't know what that is, but nice and colourful. And on the back we've got a nice blue fish something page. Right, blah blah blah. Oh, another fold out one. Recipes, I'm guessing. Right, how to cook. Another, oh, some more. Oh, yeah, I guess these are to like reserve your copy, because they're not going to print too many because of rationing. I guess that's what these papers were for. You can reserve the next copies in advance, so they know there's a definite order for them, so they know to get their ration of paper to print it on. Right, nice back cover advert, full colour. Okay, next one. I've run out of Japanese ones. That was quick. Oh no, I haven't. Right, last Japanese one is this, from a mid-1970s nice hardcover book. This is Zero Sen Kakagak Senreki. So this is part of the Boys and Girls Non-Fiction Story series. This is book number 3. So from what I could find online, this was a series of about 12 or 13 books, all based on historical happenings, like disasters and big events. And this one is about Zero pilots. So I guess they interviewed veterans and wrote up their stories along with these some photos. Is that the Corsair, I think? Zero and Corsair. Or is this the is that the Zero the Americans captured? Maybe. Somebody's house. Cockpit of a Zero. And nice black and white wash and line illustrations. So I guess this is shooting down a B-25, I think. Or B-17, okay. Also known as the Liberator when in RAF use. Oh, here's a guy looking over his kill. Photos, illustrations, so yeah, I'm guessing written up interviews with Zero pilots. Ship, home life, more home life. Photos, right. I think some of these stories were also about the war with China before World War II, before Japan joined World War II, I should say. Yeah, this is about the war against China, and China were using American planes and some American volunteer pilots, but it's like a dress rehearsal for World War II. It's a seaplane. Actually, the Japanese launched the very first ever sea-launched air raids in World War I, and here's a JAL 747. I bet at least one Zero pilot from World War II went on to fly a 747. Okay, let's turn to the USA now. The first thing I bought at this year's sale was this, Popeye the First 50 Years. So a pretty big format book, originally cost $9.95 in 1979, I believe. Actually, it probably didn't cost that in 1979, that was probably somebody paid that for its second hand even. Yeah, 1979 by King Features Syndicate. I guess newspaper comic strips were still reasonably big at the time. So, all about the development and history of Popeye. So, Popeye started in a different comic strip called Thimble Theatre and kind of took it over. But before Thimble Theatre, there was Loop in the Loop. This is the last, one of the last Loop in the Loop cartoons before it turned into Thimble Theatre. And yeah, Popeye wasn't in it immediately, but he kind of took it over later. So we've got a map of Popeye's home island. Lots of reproduced comic strips, some in colour, some not. Along with interviews, information, development of the characters, and so on and so forth. Along with this other information. Right, another map of the town. Lots of reprinted comics, characters. Right, and anyway, diagram of Popeye's ship as well. So yeah, I was never greatly into Popeye. I used to watch the cartoons on TV, of course, but not big into the lore and whatever else. Right, next on the list from the USA is not this. Right, next on the list from the USA is this, Bantam 50 Great Stories. Bantam 50 Great Stories Part 1 and Part 2. Yes, it's split very neatly in half because somebody left some photos in it, and they're photos of children, so I'm not going to dox minors. It's not the done thing, but they're not children anymore. So this is somebody called Rory, and it's his school picture when he was 6 years old in 1976. So here's Rory himself, and his Rory seems to be slightly older, reading a story to two siblings. So if you are Rory and want your pictures back, get in touch. Shove it out of the way somewhere. Right, anyway, let's put this back together. I'll have to tape it one day. So yes, this is 50 great short stories from various authors from mostly USA and UK, so Ernest Hemingway, Rudyard Kipling, who else do we recognise? Edgar Allan Poe, of course, very famous, J.D. Salinger, Aldous Huxley, Steinbeck, of course, the great American novelist, Virginia Woolf, Saki, he did, what's his name, didn't he? That one in the UK, Somerset Maugham, H.G. Wells, Robert Louis Stevenson, so yeah, these various great short stories. Right, you remember Jaws, that movie where the bad guy was a shark, which is based on a book? Well, the guy wrote another one, The Deep. So in this one it looks like it's also set in the sea, but this time the bad guys are humans. So from a flick it seems like some divers find a treasure and then somebody else is after the treasure. Don't know if they're the mafia, pirates, the KGB or whoever. It should be pretty entertaining. Anyway, so yeah, it's not much else to say about it. Typical paperback thriller. That'll be fun to read. Okay, next one from the USA is Bachelor's Japan. So this is what would nowadays be known as a pick-up artist book. So yeah, it's written sometime in the 50s, 60s, or well, from the look of it, the 60s or possibly early 70s. Let's have a look. Oh, 62, okay. Right, 1962. And yeah, would have been would today be known as a pick-up artist book. So aimed at foreigners visiting Japan and looking for some nighttime fun. So yeah, doubtless full of racism, sexism and Orientalism. Frankly, all the fun stuff, but unfortunately no comedy illustrations apart from this on the cover. But yeah, it should be interesting to say the least. Okay, last thing from the USA is from Eternity Comics, and it's the X-Mutants. Come on guys, try. So anyway, actually, despite the fact this looks like an extremely blatant X-Men ripoff, this is in fact completely different. So it's this is from 1990, January 1990, and as part of the latter day black and white explosion. So yeah, even though it appears to be a blatant X-Men ripoff, it's actually more of like a science fantasy, or just high fantasy with a sci-fi background. So these women got genetically engineered and were then in a nuclear explosion which knocked them out but didn't kill them, and they woke up either on another planet or thousands of years later. And this one is currently going on a inner self quest through metaphorical dungeons to find herself, being guided by these either aliens or super advanced humans. Can't remember now. And here's an advert for the Jackaroo, a Australian black and white explosion comic which is put out by Cyclone Comics in Australia and is being reprinted by Eternity Comics. We also have an advert and preview for Cat and Mouse, which is by Aircell Comics, which has an interesting history. They were an air conditioning repair company that decided to go into comics for some reason, and were kind of well regarded. The letters page is called Malibu Hotline, so related to Malibu Comics. So yeah, as this was part of the later days of the black and white explosion, I guess Malibu and Aircell had both merged into Eternity Comics by this point. And here's an advert for Robotech from Eternity Comics. So Robotech was an anime, but it was based on Macross and something else from Japan. They were kind of mixed together and then dubbed with a completely new story. Then that was released in the West, and then I guess Eternity Comics made a new comic based on the made up anime. So it's kind of like twice removed from the original Macross. So that's X-Mutants 14 by, we've got any, right, Paul O'Connor, Philip Hester, oh, Jimmy Palmiotti, and these guys. For some reason, especially in Osaka, it's much easier to find North Korean books than it is to find South Korean books, but this time I managed it. So here's a couple. These are 2 issues of the monthly Sabyuk, both from 1960. So I'm showing them together for interesting reasons. So, turning to my research notes, the monthly Sabyuk, which means dawn, so monthly dawn, was a continuation of a magazine called Dong Wang, which was published from 1926 to 1932, and then the monthly Sabyuk began in 1954, so after the Japanese occupation and the Korean War, they could say what they liked. at the time South Korea was still using a lot of Chinese characters in their writing, which they've mostly eliminated nowadays. And this is a magazine about literary criticism, arts criticism and what have you. And yeah, it ran from 1954 up until December 1960, which means that actually this one is the very last issue, but I didn't know that at the time. I just bought the two that were in best condition, which isn't saying much. Both got the spine starting to separate here. But yeah, not actually particularly interesting on the inside. From the adverts for Hollywood movies released in Korean. The fold-out contents pages, just like Japanese magazines at the time. And South Korea was kind of a military dictatorship at the time, so this kind of angry, marching, protesting cover. I think Sae-byuk was kind of pretty critical of the military government, but not too much. Most of the rest of it, got some poetry here, articles about authors or poets or philosophers with their photos, but yeah, not too many fun illustrations and kind of all the same layout throughout, just these articles. A lot of Chinese letters mingled in with the Korean Hangul. A few adverts. So yeah, once I've learned Japanese enough, I'll be able to interpret some of the Chinese letters and make a better guess at what these articles are about. Is this an actual story? Looks like it. Okay, looks like there's an actual story in here too, not just articles about stories. Oh, John Russell, New York Herald. Guess this is a reprint of a story serialised in the New York Herald, maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the rest is just like factual articles about literature, art, and what have you. So that's the issue from May 1960, and then we have the very last issue from December 1960. And actually the layout of this one's a bit more interesting, or more varied anyway. Fold out contents page, some movie adverts on the back. It's supposed to be an actual, is this a Korean movie? These are written in Chinese letters, possibly a Japanese movie, released in Korea. And I think this one, from what he's an advert for a French movie, Méfiez-vous Filets. So yeah, French movie released in Korea. Or South Korea, I should say. Yeah, this last issue actually has some more interesting title blocks and a few more illustrations and variations to the layout in places. So yeah, much like classics from the comics in the UK, yeah, ticked over for years looking the same, started to get interesting and varied, and then got cancelled. Right, advert for Summer Place from Warner Brothers. Blah blah blah, mostly just text. Not too many interesting illustrations. Right, nice title block there. Lots about the UN. Right, an advert for Vector Man, maybe. Okay, and yep, this is the last advert on the last issue. Okay, last one from South Korea is this. This is the Shindong-a. So this is Shin. It's also pronounced that way in Japan. And I believe this is the Chinese characters for Asia, so New Asia, maybe. Right, so the Shindong-a is actually still running in South Korea today, and unusually still has its name written with these Chinese letters. Well, obviously they would have abolished them in pretty much the rest of the magazine. So the Shindong-a is related to the Dong-a Ilbo newspaper, which is a long-running daily newspaper in Korea. It's kind of the newspaper of record for the right, so kind of similar to the Daily Telegraph in the UK, and the one I've forgot the name of in Japan. What's it called? The same newspaper that's associated with Japan Forward. Sankei Shimbun, is it? Anyway, so the Shindong-a is a monthly news digest magazine which began in 1931 and is still going today. And they also, so the Dong-a Ilbo newspaper is part of the Dong-a kind of publishing empire, and they also made one for children called The Boys Dong-a, but in 2003 they changed its name to the Children's Dong-a, so that's what passes for right-wing conservatism in South Korea. So they're screwed, aren't they? Even their softcore's not that good anymore. Right, anyway, let's look at this. Right, same old fold-out contents page, if I can do it. Right, colourful picture at the top there. Let's be careful with this. Oh, this is from when 1970. Now you come out. Right, careful. Okay, nice colourised black and white photo by the look of it. And some paintings reproduced on a colour plate. These fold-out things are kind of crammed right into the spine. I don't know, I can edit all this out. Right, that's better. Okay, some photos of around South Korea. People living up in the mountains. Traditional hand-powered industrial revolution. This 1976 something. Is this from North Korea? That's kind of North Korea-ish. So multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles. Oh, this is about long-range nuclear missiles. Oh yeah, or anti-ballistic missile. Okay. I think this magazine kind of broke new ground in South Korea by having a regular column about goings on in North Korea, amongst other things. And from what I remember from my research about this, this was started in 1931, like I said, but during the South Korean military dictatorship, it was suspended for about 8 years for criticising the government too much, and then came back later. So there's some guys. So yeah, mostly a news digest. So mostly just columns of text. So yeah, just columns of text, occasional photos of angry looking guys, blah blah blah. Got some peace protest, I guess, against the Vietnam War. Saturn V taking off, kids in a school, and is that Gorbachev? No, too much hair. Oh, EEC, forerunner of the EU. Oh, is that the what's his name? The West German guy. I forgot his name now. B-52. 1970 something. Picture of Korea in 1905. So before Japan really ramped up their annexation, it wasn't looking good. So we've got some pictures in the middle. Right, some more whatever. Okay, some pictures. Whack through this quickly. Right, some football. Something else. Another sports event. More football. Is this baseball? Maybe. Some sweets. Is that running? Some sort of meeting. Bicycle repairman, bicycle repair shop, bicycle repair shop, bicycle repair guy. Oh, fixing a car too, maybe. I think they were kind of relaxing the censorship by 1970, so that's why this magazine was able to come back. I think later in the 70s, somebody who used to work at British Leyland went to work at Hyundai, and the employees were kind of saluting him as he came to work each day. And that certainly didn't happen at British Leyland. Right, anyway, blah blah blah. Oh, ship. Some guys, I guess South Korean politicians in uniform, maybe. Is this a story with illustrations? Maybe. Oh yeah, very avant-garde illustrations. Right, possibly a... oh yeah, it looks like it's a serial something, possibly a story, because it's got the recap box there. That's how Japan did it anyway. Can't tell what the hell they are. Never mind anyway. Look at this. Is that a landscape? Anyway, something else. Is that TV? Is this TV listings? Maybe. Or reviews of TV shows that came on previous month. Also another story. Possibly about the revolt against the Japanese. Any angry propaganda illustrations? That'll be fun. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, no funny propaganda illustrations. Advert for something to do with schools. Oh, is this an advert for the boys' Ilbo, maybe? Possibly. No fun illustrations. Oh, it's another story with this kind of very black, heavy woodcut style illustration that's popular at the time. It's kind of big from the 1930s to 1980s. That kind of illustration had show up, particularly in her radical type publications. And here's an advert for Cathay Pacific. Saying Union Jack on. Oh, of course, I think Cathay Pacific's a Hong Kong airline, and obviously Britain ruled them at the time, so is this a 707? I think so. Slim body but 4 engines. Oh, here's an advert for Korea Airlines, also a 707. Saigon, as it was called at the time. Yep, so that's the Shindong-a from January 1970, right, so very beginning of the 70s. Right, let's turn to the bit that's interesting, North Korea. But first, North Korea in Japan. So here is a small book for children, and I couldn't find any information about this one online, but this is in Korean and aimed at children. Lots of cute illustrations, short, simple stories, and entirely Hangul, no Chinese characters at all. So yeah, though this is in Korean, it's made in Japan, as you can tell from the Tokyo address on the copyright page. So this was made by the Chongnyeon organisation, who organise North Korean residents of Japan and run North Korean schools which teach a Korean curriculum heavily biased towards the North and to communism. But a lot of the Chongnyeon members are now like 4th and 5th generation, have lived their entire life in Japan. They're increasingly going to Japanese schools. Oh, here's a North Korean flag outside a school. And yeah, increasingly going to Japanese schools. And yeah, a lot of them are taking Japanese names and just naturalising as Japanese citizens, as you can't outwardly tell that they were Chongnyeon, or Zainichi as they're called in Japan. It's a name for like Koreans who are kind of stuck in legal limbo after World War II. So yeah, the Chongnyeon is kind of completely collapsing and probably won't exist in another 20 years or so as its members. Oh yeah, so here's the people on a protest march or doing charity work or something with a Japanese writing instead of Korean. And here's some people outside the Chongnyeon building in Tokyo. So this is squarely aimed at the technical North Koreans who have never been to North Korea who live in Japan. Published in April 1991. Okay, this one is, let me see my research notes again. Okay, this one's called Joseon's History. This is also, if we look at the copyright information, a Chongnyeon publication because it's got the Tokyo address on the back, but this is a reproduction of an entirely North Korean publication, and back in March 2022 somebody in South Korea got arrested for possession of this, and apparently you can actually buy some North Korean books in South Korea, or at least it's legal to trade them if they don't praise the Kim family and if they're about Korean history prior to the Korean War. So this is from, I believe, 1919. I forgot to write that down. Right, yeah, I believe the comics in this one cover 1919 to 1920 something, so it's prior to the Korean War and it's about resistance to Japanese occupation. Oh, here we are. Oh, it covers 1905 to 1919. So yeah, comics and short articles entirely about resistance to the Japanese occupation. So should technically be legal in South Korea. But yeah, some South Koreans who had this in a library, I think it was like a research institute into North Korea, and they had this in the library and they got arrested for possession of it because one line on one of the pages mentions that Kim Il-sung was born near a river. So they got arrested for that, and I found an article complaining about when they were arrested. It wasn't just for this book, it was also for a bunch of other North Korean propaganda, but the articles about them being arrested specifically singled out that they had this comic, and somebody said that actually you can go into a mall in South Korea and just buy it for 9,000 won, and only one line even mentions the Kim family, so it should be legal, but these guys got arrested anyway. So yeah, as you can see, this is about resisting the Japanese occupation and about Japan imposing their culture, destroying Korean culture, and so on. So yeah, and I do have another volume of this that I think I got in one of the previous Shitennoji book sales, and I think that was the volume before this, so I think about 1890 to 1905. So yeah, this goes right back into ancient history and then up to, I think, like the 1970s or something. This is book 4 in the series, and yeah, this particular book has a kind of interesting recent history. Right, so another couple of Chongnyeon publications. 2 issues of this. This is Atarashi Seidai, which is New Generation. So let's look at this one first. This is the former Chongnyeon headquarters, which they built claiming it was going to be a battery factory, and only announced it was the Chongnyeon headquarters after they finished it. So this is another publication aimed at Chongnyeon Zainichi children in Japan, and this one is from 1965. So they were like the first generation of teenagers to be born as Zainichi in Japan, and I think at the time it was still more possible to go back and visit North Korea, so they were probably Zainichi North Koreans who actually saw North Korea at some point in their lives. But yeah, it's written mostly in Japanese, but with these propaganda pictures, fold out contents page, just like other Japanese magazines. Here's the opening of well, I don't think this is the Chongnyeon headquarters. Oh yes, it is. Yeah. This is the Chongnyeon headquarters in the 60s. It's now in Tokyo and looks different to this, so because they've had 3 headquarters now. And again, lots of written in Japanese articles about the Chongnyeon schools and stuff they've been doing, as well as heavily biased Korean news reporting, information on things going on. The poor downtrodden Zainichi in terrible, hateful Japan being happy to return to North Korea, so yeah, they made the right choice, didn't they? And it's got some, here's some protesters or rioters or whatever, probably in terrible South Korea, demanding to be unified with the North. And yep, some cartoons. Here's USA, I guess Japan and South Korea trying to pull down, I guess this means North Korea. This letter means dawn, but it's used as an abbreviation for North Korea in Japan. Some Korean writing, somebody trying to read it. Big-hearted people. Here is, so I guess Japanese people vandalised the previous Chongnyeon headquarters, which was just some small shacks in the grounds of a North Korean high school in Japan. So I guess this is the Japanese obeying their American masters and burning down the Chongnyon headquarters, and then the Chongnyon built their fancy big new headquarters, which makes them faint in shock. So this means 60 years of not 60 years of North Korea at this point, surely 60. Maybe Kim Il-sung was 60 years old. So yeah, this will be later redefined as Juche 60s, because they decided to reorganise the North Korean calendar to count the years from Kim Il-sung's birth, but they didn't start that until 2012, I don't think. So here's the comic strip about the opening of the Chongnyon headquarters. This dog reads the news, makes his kennel more fancy. Another comic. This kid is too tired from studying. This girl puts up a propaganda poster that makes him study harder. Written story. Someone's been trying to learn Korean, I think, and they've been writing notes. Or they're like putting X's everywhere. Like, no, this is wrong. I don't know if they're criticising North Korean propaganda or what. So yeah, written story about Shitennoji students in Japan, or maybe a story about how wonderful life in North Korea is. More stories. Here's a evil Japanese or Korean Japanese collaborator robbing a woman. Advert for a North Korean book, actually written in Korean. Poor downtrodden Shitennoji, how terrible. All that freedom of speech and food and electricity and running water. Evil Americans plotting to do something. So yes, is a Atadashi Seidai, or New Generation, for May 1965. And here's an issue from, oh okay, this is June 1965, okay. They had a whole load of these issues, and they had some later ones from like the late 80s, but their covers were nowhere near as interesting. Their covers were much plainer, so I didn't buy any of those. But I accidentally got consecutive issues from the 1965 without even knowing, so here's a picture of some mass games. Here's a song to sing, written in both Korean and Japanese. Propaganda poster about the evil Americans killing civilians, no doubt. Pictures of mass games in North Korea. Nice lavish spread. This is a black and white version of the cover picture. Here's the ship that regularly sailed between Japan and North Korea. It was only stopped fairly recently, actually. I guess this is North Korea and somebody making friends. Oh yeah, here's a morning or dawn, abbreviation for North Korea, and sun, abbreviation for Japan. So North Korea Japan friendship. Yeah, that's worked out well, hasn't it? Stop shooting missiles at us, please. Right, and same bunch of propagandist articles, stories. Here's I guess a mangled dead body from the Korean War that the evil Americans killed. Some little inserts about something. There's a little mini book. Little story article about Korean clothes or something. Don't know actually. Right, mini book inside. Here's a postcard you can send somebody, possibly a subscription thing. Some comics, one comic, okay, possibly a science art, and some other bits and pieces. Oh, and once again, these are Shitennoji students living in terrible Japan with this terrible running water and enough food to eat. How terrible, eh? Well, another comic. So yes, a couple of issues of Atadashi Seidai, or New Generation, the Shitennoji Korean magazine published by the Chongnyon. And just as an aside to that, here is a magazine I couldn't find any information on. It's called Wakai Nakama, so Wakai Nakama, and that's also, this is from 1966, but Wakai Nakama something was the name of a 1960s Japanese movie, so yeah, good luck finding any information about this online. But this appears to be a Soviet-backed magazine sold in Japan. So here is an advert for Heim, which is a German name, so I think it comes from East Germany. And here's an advert for Intourist, which is the Soviet tourism agency, something about ballet. And here's an article about the Bolshoi Ballet, written in Russian here. The Bolshoi Ballet, who were touring Japan at that time. So I wasn't sure if this is a Soviet-backed magazine or just a general interest Japanese magazine that happened to be covering the Bolshoi Ballet tour and so had an Intourist advert in it. There's also a section on, oops, oh, so we've got this culture section, I guess. Energy show. Okay. Some cartoons, some news articles. But there's also a section on Vietnam. Oh, comic strip as well. Yeah, a section on the Vietnam War which appears biased. So here's Kita Vietnam, or North Vietnam. Nice, happy people. Minami Vietnam, who are warlike and destructive. So yeah, I'm guessing this is liberation, so liberating Vietnam from the evil South and evil Americans. So yeah, I'm guessing this is Soviet backed. And here's the Bolshoi Ballet Tour main article. So yeah, this is Wakai Nakama, possibly Soviet-backed propaganda magazine, sold in Japanese. And there's an advert for a TV and an advert for Vikura Solb, not Solve, Solb. So yeah, that's an interesting aside. Right, let's get on to the last ones. It's the books from North Korea proper. So the first one is this, which is this. And I forgot to translate the name, didn't I? Right, this appears to be just kind of a adventure or mystery paperback, possibly set on a plane or at an airport, from Juche 95 or 2006, which means the Juche year dating system didn't start in 2012. It must have started earlier. And that started reasonably recently, maybe 1998 now I think about it. So, oh yeah, 2012 was Juche 100. That's why that year was in my head. Right, so we've got one illustration at the start, and the rest is just Hangul throughout, so not particularly interesting to look at. No fun, scratchy, angry illustrations. But yeah, one day if I can read Korean, maybe I can read this. But got to learn Japanese first, eh? Okay, and last and not least is this somewhat lavish book. Nice hardback with gold leaf title. And this is about the life of children in North Korea. It's got silver and gold leaf actually. So yeah. Nice lavishly made, very good quality glossy photographic paper. And yes, it's mostly, this is from August 1994. And yeah, mostly colour photos of the life of children in North Korea. So lots of insights into pictures of the regime. So I think these are quadruplets who were all born, and here's some advanced medical technology incubators which seem to be arranged in this room for the purposes of having a picture taken of all of them rather than arranged in a more logical and useful layout for some reason. And it also appears that the flash from the camera is the only source of light in the room. Now, I'm not suggesting they have regular power cuts and this is the only 4 incubators they've got, but it's looking suspicious, isn't it? And there's some nurses holding the 4 children. I guess this is maybe is this the mother and father? This is the boss of the hospital maybe. And some gifts given to the 4 children by somebody. Is this the 4 children later in their life, growing up all singing a song together? Oh, here they are. Yeah. What are these clothes? There's like swimming costumes and like bibs at the same time. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, here they are getting some presents, slightly older. Here they are as babies again with all these things they've been given. Here they are in a traditional Korean clothes. Looks like, is that 3 girls, 1 boy? I don't know. And then some other kids. Here's the Kims inspecting a milk factory, delivering free milk to schools. I'm sure every school gets that. All the abundant food every child gets, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 apple each. Oh, they've been spoiled there. Right. That's enough sarcasm. Is this yeah, Kim Il-sung I think had died by that time, so this is King Jong-il. Yeah, Kim Jong-il, the second king of North Korea. Is this the same quadruplets again? I don't think so. Right, here's a nursery school, a toy shop. Once again, it seems the flash of the camera is the main source of illumination in the picture. Another nursery school, kid being fitted for a diaper. Nursery school with lots of abundant toys. I'm sure these are not the only ones they've got in the entire city. All these presents they got. Nice toy guns and a somewhat creepy looking doll. Right, children's orchestra, walk in the park, going to the zoo, playing, what's his name, that song from the Balkan War, you know the one. Another nursery school. Is this the same one actually? It's got the same rainbow outside. A more rural nursery school maybe, up in the mountains. I'm sure these kids get enough food. Oh, swimming pool. Look how deep this swimming pool is. These kids must only be 3 or 4 years old and it only just covers their feet. Wearing their sunglasses indoors because they're cool. Here's Kim Jong-il planting a tree. Here's a theme park. Not the only... I'm going through every picture here. Let's skip a few pictures. Right. I guess these are some older children putting on a play at their school. Inspecting a sweet factory maybe. Factory for, a shop for children's something like that. Oh, it's a children's bookshop. You can buy in North Korean comics. Yeah, if I was here, I'd be, I think I'd single-handedly prop up the regime for another year if I could go here. I might spend all of $10. Right, TV, not the only one they have. More schools. Oh, I guess these are, this is like a high school or junior high. Learning how to drive cars, the evil, decadent, capitalist pollution machines. Learning from audio tapes. The first high school I worked in Japan had a setup like this, but they never used it. It was kind of half destroyed. I just used to watch movies in there. Swimming pool, you can actually swim in this time. Also not the only one they have. I guess this is a middle or high school. Oh yeah, military cadets. School for girls. Learning something other. Oh, computers. Interesting that they're not showing what's on the screen of these computers. Not that I'm suggesting they don't actually have any electricity or anything. Or we might see that these computers are American or Japanese. Right, a more rural school. I'm sure they get enough food. Not just coming off the back of a famine or anything. Here's an art class. This is pretty good actually. So yeah, lots of colourful pictures of the life of children in North Korea, all happy and abundant and not at all miserable and starving. Oh, some black and white pictures, yeah, but mostly colour. There's a nice shopping centre. Interesting that no actual shop fronts are shown, just the escalators. A few more pictures. Oh, I get to go skiing. I guess these are universities now, young adults. And here are some mass games. This is from this is actually published in October 1994. So yeah, pretty well made and colourful book for North Korean standards. It's compared to the usual standards of paper in their books. Look at this. So yeah, that's this year's Shitennoji book sale haul's finished, and next one is in May 2023, and hopefully I'll make at least one more video in between now and then. We'll see, eh?